And so we thought, who is the best in doing that? It's Hansi from Blind Guardian. So then it was clear for us, okay, we ask Hansi to help us.
Hey Jens, how's it going? It's Brandon calling from Canada.
Hello, Brandon. You're from Canada. Okay, that's perfect. Nice to meet you. Hi, how are you doing?
Good, good, good. I will say I'm liking the studio and the guitars behind you.
Yeah, that's my man cave. No, actually, that's the place I spend most of the time when I'm at home. It's my studio where I do all the recordings, producings, whatever, even lessons. I spent today the whole day doing Zoom guitar lessons because the weather here in Germany is so bad right now that no car can drive. So we had to switch from real lessons to online lessons. So I'm pretty used to doing Zoom stuff today. So you're just next number.
Fair enough. What are you running as far as your studio?
For anything, for my own demos, for my own productions. I'm producing other bands. I'm recording other bands. So it's whoever needs me, I'll be there if you pay me.
What system do you run? Like I see a mixing console behind you.
Yeah, that's an old Mackie mixing console. I like to have a little analog feel though, but most of the things I'm doing in Cubase and DAW, let's say it's a kind of a leftover from the earlier days.
For sure. It's funny, a friend of mine, his whole life, he wanted to get a proper mixing console. He's run a successful studio for a long time, but he's always just used his mouse, right?
Okay.
And he finally just went, no, I'm finally at the point in my life I can buy the big desk where I can impress clients.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of that, you know. I had once had a tax officer, checking my stuff, and he went he wanted to see all the things I got musically, and so he went into the room and said, "Oh yes, I see that's a music room," and everything was set. So it helps. Sometimes it helps to impress.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. So when I do these, I like to start at the beginning of you as a musician and then work our way up to the new record, the new Grandmaster, Black Sun. So starting from the beginning, where did you grow up and how did you get started in music?
I grew up in the exact village I'm living right now. It's a small village near a town called Fulda in Germany. I was born here, I was raised here. I spent my childhood here and I still like it here, and that's why I never went anywhere else. So that's basically where I was born, little town in Germany. I grew up pretty usual. Before I discovered music, I was doing a lot of sports, playing soccer and table tennis. But that was over when I discovered music at let's say, the age of 14 years. And right after that, we pretty soon started a band by the name of Edguy. Actually, yeah, we started the band when we were 14 years old. I met Toby the first time when we were 12. And from that point on, music was the thing for me. Nothing else. So we spent every chance we had to do music. We were forming a band. First, we did some cover music. I mean, we were 14. We barely could play our instruments. But everything grew pretty fast, and we were pretty focused on what we wanted to do. Well, we did a demo tape, another demo tape. Nobody was interested in. Then we did a demo CD back then. Nobody cared about too much. And then finally, with the next step, we found a little record company who were based quite near the town we are living in. And they were interested. And from that point on, we released our first record. And now it's almost 25 years later, I think, since we released the first record, or even more. So rest is history. And now I'm back with another interesting project. And that's basically it. I would say if you have any closer question, we could dive straight into it, but it's really hard to sum up 30 years in just 2 minutes,
Oh, no, absolutely. Believe me, I got tons of stuff. I'm a huge Edguy fan, so I got a lot of stuff about that and other things you've done as well. So,
oh, okay, great.
Yeah, I'd love to get a good sort of overview of your career as well. You'd mentioned the two demos, Evil Minded and Children of Steel. Where was that recorded? Did you guys go to an actual studio, or did you guys do that at your home kind of thing?
Well, for the first one, for the Evil Minded demo, we actually did go in a studio. Well, what we thought was a professional studio back then. who was run by a famous musician. He was famous in our region. He was famous nowhere else, but he was well known for being the guy for producing local metal bands who've just turned 17 years old or 14 years. No, seriously, it was really a pretty cool experience because we had none experience back then. And so for the first demo, we went actually to studio, recorded everything and mixed everything in 4 days. I remember that. But already for the second one, we felt that we maybe could do it better on our own. Of course, we still needed some help. We still needed someone who's really, for the technical aspects, who knows how to run a recording machine, how to run a mixing desk, what to do with all the knobs. We didn't know it back then. So it was actually a friend of ours who's still a friend of mine nowadays and who's actually still living in the same small village as I am today. So we meet him. I meet him very often. And actually, he helped us with the producing, and we recorded the second one in the basement of my parents. So it was, well, an interesting step back from that point and in that point of time, but it was worth it, I think.
For sure. Who did the Evil Minded? I can't even find any information about that. What was the local musician's name who recorded you guys?
The guy's called Stefan Rödiger.
Stefan Rödiger. Okay. Yeah, I was just, like I said, I was doing research into this, and I've listened to that demo, and Children of Steel I find to be a pretty big step forward. I mean, you can still tell you guys are still young and whatever, but I mean, half the songs on that wound up in later Edguy songs that were professionally recorded, you know, so...
Yeah.
Now, it's kind of funny. I stumbled upon a set list from '95 of you guys playing as a Kiss tribute band, supposedly called Kiss Me.
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience. Did you guys do that a lot? Did you guys play out?
We did that twice in our lives. And it was, the first thing was, I think it was in 95. Both gigs have been in 95. The first one was actually in February. And the thing was, we were booked as a band, and back then we also played a lot of cover stuff because we had just a few own songs, so we couldn't entertain people the whole evening with just our own music. So we did a lot of cover versions, and we were booked for a carnival event, you know, where people are dressed up in costumes and all that stuff for the whole evening. Well, the issue was a little bit, we didn't exactly had enough songs to fill the whole evening. And we didn't feel right to play for 3 or more hours as that guy. So we needed a solution. And back then, as I said, it was carnival season. It was a carnival event. So everybody was dressed up in costumes. So we thought to ourselves, well, that sounds like a way out of the situation. So, I mean, everybody knows that Toby's one of the biggest Kiss fans on planet Earth. And everybody in the band liked that music. So the idea was born to support ourselves as a Kiss tribute band. And that's what we did actually. We dressed up as Kiss, we rehearsed as 10 or 12 Kiss songs and performed as our own support band. And after the gig, it was really funny. We told nobody that it's us. And there were really people coming and asking, oh, where are the other guys? And we had to say, oh, they already left. They are from far away. They have to drive long. And that was really, really, really funny. And just because it was really such a big blast, we did it one more time on another gig, but on the second one, more people knew who was behind the masks.
Now, tell me about the recording of the first proper demo album, Savage Poetry. Like even in the re-record, I've got the re-recording from 2000 or so. Mm-hmm. But I've always listened to the demos. I always am interested in bands' early days, and this is no exception. So where was that done? How did that album come about? And how did you wind up with AFM?
Well, actually, we've done 2 demo tapes so far. And of course, we were sending them to record companies, to magazines, to whoever we thought could be interested in what we are doing. And the feedback was not that well back then. So we thought to ourselves, then if people don't realize how great we are, we have to present them more of us. And more of us meant more songs, and more songs meant a complete CD. And we did the writing of the songs. And for the recordings, then we hired a studio in our hometown in Fulda as well. I think it doesn't exist anymore, but the engineer who was doing that or running that studio, he's still a friend of ours. And that's actually how we made Savage Poetry, the first one. I think it was 10 days or 2 weeks recording, including the mixing and everything for this CD. And it was another special experience. I mean, we didn't have much more time than for the 4 songs of a demo recording, but it felt bigger, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can tell the sound is definitely, like, with each demo, it got a little bit better each time. And then next comes Kingdom of Madness, where, again, everything was like a little bit better every time.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say at the beginning, making big steps is always easy at the beginning. So that's part of it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, tell me about Kingdom of Madness. You guys worked with Eric Grosch, who I know has worked with a ton of underground metal bands, Centaur, Lee Z, Tragedy Divine. How did you come into contact with him, and how is it working with him? Did he properly produce you guys and produce the album, or was he just there to sort of hit record kind of thing?
I think he was more sort of the recording guy. Back then, we already knew pretty well what we wanted to do and how we wanted to have our music to be. Yeah, he was more responsible for the sound and recordings. Of course, he was giving advice, a lot of advices. The thing is, we met Eric. He was playing in a band, actually, who are from the same region as we are. And he's living still here in the same region. So that's how we came in contact. We played several shows together before we went in the studio. So we knew him already for years before we entered the studio. And we knew that he was a good guy, and he was working in a real professional big studio far away from home. So that sounded like a good idea back then. So that's what we did.
That's awesome. So you guys do Vainglory Opera, which was the big breakthrough, and you guys worked with Timo Tolkki on it. How did he become involved with that record? And again, did he produce it, or was he just mixing after the fact?
Timo was just mixing the album. But the story how he came into it, that's pretty interesting. Kingdom of Madness was already released with AFM Records. And AFM Records was a creative young label. And they also had a fan sign back then. It was called Evil Message Fan Sign. So we knew that we really loved the sound of Stratovarius and Sonata Arctica back then. And that's what we wanted to have for our albums. We read that Timo was the guy for the producing for Stratovarius. And back then, he was the mastermind of Stratovarius. He was doing basically everything in the band. So the idea was born. We maybe could ask Timo to mix the album, to have that kind of sound, to have also maybe some of his influence and maybe some advice as well. And the question was, how do we meet him? And it was the time when Stratovarius released the Visions album. And as I just said, our record company, they also had a fan sign. So what we did was we kind of disguised as journalists and pretended to do an interview for the fan sign with Timo when he came to Germany to promote the Visions album. And yeah, that's what we did. We had an interview scheduled with him, and Toby and me went to a hotel in Cologne and met him there, and we kind of did an interview with him. And after the interview was done, then we kind of revealed our real intention. We said, okay, Timo, thank you very much for the interview, but actually we're no journalists. We would like you to listen to our band, and we would like to ask you if you would help us to work on the next album. And we had a tape back then, a ghetto blaster with us, back then, beginning of the 90s. And we showed it to him, and well, to our big surprise, he listened to the song, two or three songs, and he immediately agreed. Well, guys, that's cool material. Yeah, I'd like to help you and to work with you. And that was really well, we didn't believe it, because that was just, for us, it kind of was unreachable. And then we had just such a nice guy just helping us out, young musicians. That was just an amazing experience.
That's incredible. And for that album, you guys toured with Iron Savior, correct? Was that your first major tour?
Yes and no. We had a little tour before with an American band called Eternity X.
Oh, okay.
We were doing 15 shows or something in Europe, within Europe. And I would say that was the first real tour, but it was really not very good. There were not many people showing up. Let's be honest, it was a kind of a disaster. The tour was great. The guys of Eternity X were great, but it's just have been not two famous bands together on a tour. Didn't work out too well. So that was our first real touring experience, but the first I would agree. The first real tour we were doing with audience was the one with Iron Savior back then.
Oh, that's funny. Now, tell me this. So I think it was with Vainglory Opera, or it was theater, where you guys started working with Norman Meiritz, I think that's how you say his name?
Yeah.
Who went on to engineer, those 4 or 5 records the last 4 or 5 years you guys were with AFM. Tell me about working with him. Now again, was he just an engineer? Did he help produce you guys? And just tell me in general about working with him.
Of course, he helped also producing the album. I mean, for those albums that he produced, we really took our time. I mean, we spent like 3 months in the studio. We really took our time to work everything out, to try out different things and everything. So we really had time back then. And if you're spending so much time together with the engineer, be it an engineer or official producer, he was never the official producer that the album was produced by ourselves. It was most of the things our ideas. But of course, he has his influence on the stuff we were doing. And I have to tell you, with everything we've worked with until to this point, was somebody from a region. You know, Norman Meiritz, for example, he was an engineer working for the PA company who was running the studio where we were recording the Savage Poetry. So, you know, it's a small town and everybody is connected with somebody who's doing music. And that's how we knew Norman already. And yeah, same story. He had a studio and well, we thought it might be a good idea to to spend months with him to record a couple of albums. And well, it worked out pretty well with recording in let's say more, it was not a bad studio, but it was not a high-end, fancy, very expensive studio. And the money that we saved during the recordings, we wanted to put in the mix. And that combination worked pretty well with Vainglory Opera. And that's why we stayed with that for a couple of albums.
For sure. Yeah, well, and then you guys got Mika, oh my God, I can't think of their names, but you had sort of that team who was also doing Stradivarius and other people mixing the albums, and
yeah,
the results speak for themselves on those albums.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that was, I don't know if you can call it key to success, but we always had people who were doing something right in our eyes, in our opinion. For example, if I mention Hansi Kursch, you know, I was a big fan of Blind Guardian. Blind Guardian was back then, those choirs they did on the albums, it was just really impressive for us as musicians. And so we thought, who's the best in doing that? It's Hansi from Blind Guardian. So then it was clear for us, okay, we ask Hansi to help us because that's the sound we wanted to have back then. And that's the guy doing it. So ask him to help. The same thing with Timo Tolkki and the sound, and with everything else we were doing back then. It was like really, yeah, somebody's doing something right in our opinion, and we want to have kind of the same impression. So we kept asking.
It's the way to do it. Yeah, go after the people that really know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Toby is the main songwriter and Edguy, but you've co-written or even written a lot of the music as well. Tell me about, like, when it came to writing, did you both have your own songs, or did you guys often sit in a room and write together, or what was that process like? I've always been curious, especially with Toby being a bassist, keyboardist, how does he come to write songs?
Well, that evolved over the years a lot. I mean, at the beginning when we started the band, we've been doing almost everything in the rehearsing room, like everything together. Really, like Toby had an idea. He came to the rehearsing room and showed it to us, and we were trying to work it out together. And we did that at the beginning. And of course, then I did a lot of guitar parts. I did all the riffings and everything. But as we grew up and over the years, you can say that Toby did more and more stuff on his own. And so it was more, and he's became a better songwriter by doing everything himself. So then there was less room for everybody else to get some input. And that's basically how the songwriting process evolved, as I said. At the beginning, we were doing everything together. And the more and more we grew up and the more everybody was also interested in some other stuff. For example, I was really into recording stuff back then, recording techniques and stuff. So it was a win-win situation if I could record my own ideas and learn how the recording stuff technically works. And for Toby, it was basically the same. For him, it was a great experience to write his own guitar riff and to sit at home and to have a song finished at home. You know, all these little things came together. And over the years, you can say we started out as a rehearsing room band. But the longer it took, the more everybody was going back to his cave and preparing stuff to meet later and to show the other guys.
Right. Does Toby, use like Guitar Pro, or like, so he even though he's a bass player, does he also play guitar, I'm guessing?
Not that I know, but he can sing guitar riffs. And that's all it needs.
Yeah, this is true. It's funny. I'm a fellow guitar player, so I'm just thinking, I'm like, yeah, I guess you could just sing the riff, right? And then you just try and figure it out or work out what chords would fit or whatever.
And you know, the riffs that can be sung are usually the most well-known riffs, like da da da. Those things you can sing are the things that people remember.
Yeah, very true. So 2004, you guys started working with Sascha Paeth. How did you guys get involved with him, and how was it working with him in the studio as opposed to what you guys have been doing with Norman before?
It was another level, definitely. I mean, Sascha is a professional, and Norman was a friend of the band. He was also professional engineer, but he was never really into producing heavy metal albums. He was coming from a totally different music, so it was really another level to have a professional producer who is really professional in producing metal albums. And yeah, same story back then as usual. We thought, oh, those bands have a great producer, so maybe we should ask him to produce our stuff as well. And but we met Sascha earlier. He was doing the drum and bass recordings for the Hellfire Club album. And that's back then he was just doing recordings. And after that, for the Rocket Ride album, it was the first time that he was working with us as a producer. And I think Toby was the first one who met Sascha for some Avantasia recordings, I think. He was releasing the first two Avantasias in 2001, if I remember right, or 2000, something around that. And that's how he met Sascha, and that's how we got in contact with him.
Tell me this now. So in 2000, I wanted to say it was 2006, you guys played China. And I mean, there was a famous bootleg that went around forever, and I've seen it countless times. What was the experience like going and playing in China, and how did it differ from playing other places? Like, I know you guys had been to Japan by that point as well. Yeah. What was it like playing there?
Well, back then it wasn't that special, to be honest. It was just the next step. I mean, as I said, that was the time from 2002 to 2006 where really a lot of things were happening with the band. The first European tour, which has become the first headlining world tour, and then, as I said, the first time Japan, the first time country X, first time another country. We've been playing in Israel, so there were really happening a lot of things. So then finally playing China was just another step that we haven't done before. So we didn't see it to be that special back then. Looking back at it nowadays, I think, well, it was really something special. But back then it didn't feel like that. It just felt like being on the road, being just on some new place the first time, like we have done it like countless times before in this time, you know. But of course the experience was pretty great. The concert came to be because of... yeah, we have to go a little back. I was talking about the fan sign from AFM Records. There was working one Chinese guy, and he actually was going back to China and getting us to play in China. So you see, another same story again. It was somebody from our environment who was been there most of the time, who just gave the right impact that we could make something really, really interesting. And yeah, that's how it came to be. And back then, I think it wasn't the same China as we have it today. So it didn't felt so different from Japan or Taiwan back then.
Yeah, very interesting. Tell me this now. Getting off of Edguy, from what I know, since about 2012 or so, you've played in a band called Amitav. What can you tell me about the band? I can't find any material or anything about the band.
That's because there is no material, no real material for the band, and that's a bit of the issue with the band. You know, it's a band from France who are running this band. The singer Ralph Siastek has been singing on Edguy Records as well and on Avantasia. The drummer is Dominic Stork, who was the first Edguy drummer. And another guitar player, and I joined the guys because yeah, they were friends just, and I had The music was pretty interesting. It was really like progressive metal with German lyrics, which I thought had a lot of potential. And I really liked the stuff, and I wanted to help the guys, and that's why I joined them. But unfortunately, they never finish anything. Let's put it this way. Oh, they have their issues in finishing anything. So whenever you have the feeling that a song is, yeah, let's go record it, it's good, then somebody's got an idea, oh, maybe we could still improve something there and there. And that's maybe the curse of the band. You can really put it this way. They really need somebody who can kick their asses and tell them, now do something, finish just something, and that's what they really had their issues with, and that's why you find no material of the band at all. I know that they are still working. I'm not a part of the band anymore since I don't know 4, 5 or 6 or 7 years, but I know they are still trying to finish the same songs as we worked on.
That's funny. Yep, I've played with musicians like that, and I've been that musician as well, where it's like you're just having fun jamming, right? And it's like, I don't know if I really want to go to the next level of record something or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's something like that. I don't know about it. Well, it's how it is, and I wasn't able to change it in any way.
Yeah. Just before we jump into the new Grandmaster, about a decade ago or so, you and Pat from Iron Savior, you guys produced the Mercury's Falling into the Void album. And from what I know, you guys, Edguy and Mercury Falling, you guys go way back, right? Like many, many years.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we go way back. We started together. We played the first music contests together. Daniel, the keyboard player and main songwriter of Mercury Falling, is still a great friend of mine. We are doing a lot of projects together. We're working like really a lot on songs together, everything. So there's still that connection. And well, same as usual. We know each other since so many years. Well, when I was able to buy a house at some point, of course, my dream was to build a studio in the basement. What you see right now, that's my man cave. That's was always my dream, having my little studio in my own house. Yeah, once I had that, there were people coming to me. Mercury Falling were one of them. They knew that I was experienced with that guy, with working with metal bands. And yeah, they came to my studio to record drums, bass, and the guitars. The vocals has been produced by Piet from Iron Savior, because, well, he's a singer himself, and I'm not good in recording and producing vocals. I'm more good for guitars and bass and drums. That's kind of my thing. And so yeah, that was the best way to share the production. And yeah, it turned out pretty well. We did it the same for the follow-up album, and that was also a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're excellent records, and I own Into the Void, and I only discovered that yesterday. I was like, wait a second, Jens actually produced this? That's so cool.
Yeah, that was really fun. I'm not really producing, they were producing themselves, but I was the recording engineer for drums, bass, and yeah, I had some influence then on the guitar player, maybe.
Yeah. All right, so let's move up to the present day. So a few years ago, you became a part of the band, the Grandmaster, originally with singer Nando, who is, I mean, an incredible talent. How did the band come together?
Well, it's a Frontiers project. I want to be honest with it. It's a project from a record company. And I came to it. I became an email from somebody from Frontiers asking me if I would be interested in joining this kind of project with a Brazilian singer and with Nando, and they were showing me the songs. And well, that's the truth. I heard the first 2 songs, True North and Lunar Waters, and I was totally flashed, and I really wanted to be a part of it. Well, also I have to say that it was during the pandemic, so it was at a time where all the musicians were sitting at home and doing nothing. Yeah. And of course, that was a great opportunity, a great offer, a great chance for me to just do something, to do something productive. And well, I really loved the songs. I still do. The first album was really had a hit on me. Well, as I said, I like the songs. I said, yeah, I'm really interested in doing that. And what I really loved about and still love about working on this project with everybody involved is the really high level of trust on each other. It's really cool. I get the material, I can do with it whatever I want on the guitars, and I never got any bad word back so far, either from the producer or the record company. Everybody just said, "Oh, totally cool," and they are totally impressed and totally satisfied with everything you're offering them. That's a really cool feeling, and that makes it really easy to work on projects like this, because you know you can do whatever you want, what you feel is right. You can let your heart do the talking and do the music, and you know that it's going to be good at the end. That's one thing I really like about those kind of projects.
Oh, for sure. Now tell me, this new record, you guys have the singer from Fate, Per Johansson, fronting the band. And, you know, it's funny, when I put this album on originally, I didn't read anything other than, oh, there's another Grandmaster, because I really liked the first one. And I just put it on in the background, and it wasn't till I was reading the liner notes, I'm like, there's a different singer on this. Like, it's unbelievable how much Per and Nando sound like each other. Like, they're not clones, but they're definitely that sort of gruffer Jorn Land kind of voice, and it works so well.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible. Do you know, like, was the plan to get Nando back for this one, or was he not available, or he just wanted to move on to something else, or how did Per come into the picture?
Actually, I don't know what happened with Nando. What I was told was that we wanted to get the opportunity to do a better promotion with the band, and it's just Nando is. I'm so impressed by the job he has done for the first album. Really, goosebumps when I think of every single song. He has got such a great voice, and I was really impressed by everything he has done. But I also agree with the producer and record company when they say, well, if you have a singer from Brazil, it might be really difficult to do any shows if you want to have the chance to do it. And I see that point, that it's really much more easier to do promotion if you're all living in the same continent. And that's how the change took place. As I said in the official release, it was funny because working with Nando was, I didn't know anything about him. And so that was the excitement working with Nando, that I really didn't know what to expect. And with Per, it was different because I already knew him. I was a fan of him back then for the Fate album. So having the opportunity to work with one of your early days idols, to put it that way, was also very exciting. And he has a lot of variety in his voice, and he's really doing a lot of different styles, and that gives another touch of the record.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've got to say, now, when it comes, you'd sort of mentioned the first one, the songs were sent to you. Did you have a lot of input, especially the second time around, with the songwriting? Or was it, again, just you adding your guitars to what was written already?
No, that was basically really different. I teamed up with Alessandro for many songs. I mean, we've been writing also songs together for other artists as well. And for the second album, we really had a lot of contact doing songwriting, exchanging ideas. So that was totally different compared to the first album. It was really, I was involved in the process. I could interfere in stuff, and he could interfere in my stuff as well. So that was that really felt more like a teamwork, since on the other hand, you know, the first one he did everything on himself, and as you said, I just got the songs, put my guitars on. But for the second one, I was much more involved in it, and it was much more satisfying, of course, and yeah, it makes me gives me the chance to identify more with the second album, well, with the songs from the second album than with the first album.
For sure. Now, it's funny, I interviewed Alessandro not that long ago. What other projects with him have you done?
I think we did one song for Sunstorm with Ronnie Romero.
Oh, okay.
And there's one song on another project that actually I don't remember right now. But we're still in contact, and we keep exchanging ideas. So that's an ongoing thing.
Okay. So when it comes to the new record, are there any songs that especially stand out to you, either from a writing perspective or just a song that sort of stuck with you?
Yeah, of course. There are more than one. Well, the first I can think of is What We Can Bear. That's something that is really special because it made me, Alessandro made me record the lowest guitar I ever recorded in my entire life so far. It's really a 7-string guitar with drop tuning, and I never did anything like that before. And that was a really funny experience because actually I don't like 7-string guitars, and I
don't either. As a fellow guitar player, I'm not a fan.
Me neither, and I don't like 8 or 9-string guitars. but I do like the sound sometimes. So that was kind of the challenge. And if you can hear those riffing, it's really, I don't know, it's really deep. It's at 7 string plus 2 steps down. It's really, really low. And I'm definitely not used to play that kind of stuff. So that was a really, really special experience because it was very difficult for me. But I was very happy at the end that it turned out to be such a brutal sound in a way. So that's a thing I enjoyed very much, as well as Something More. It's also a cool riff, and also a lot of dark guitars. And yeah, there are many songs. I like the Into the Dark riffing is pretty cool.
That's probably my favorite. That one's definitely got it's definitely not an Edguy clone, but you can hear little nods to Edguy throughout the tune.
Yeah.
I think in some of the riffs and the chorus.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, generally on this record, I have the feeling it's got more power metal elements somehow. We got two or three fast songs with more double bass. I think it wasn't like that on the first album. But yeah, well, that's a kind of the development maybe of my involvement. I don't know. And I'm Alive is another great song. I like the heavy guitar-driven guitar songs on the album.
For sure. It's funny. One song that surprised me that I cannot get out of my head is Fly Icarus Fly. I don't know if you had any part in that one. I know it's more of a piano type ballad, but
yeah,
I've been walking around humming that now for the last week. Just cannot get that out of my head. Same thing with the chorus for Into the Dark as well. Both of those are just they're great earworms where you just walk around with them and hum them all the time.
Yeah. It's for me while the sun goes down, something like that.
Yeah. So when it comes to recording, what are you doing these days? Like, are you still miking amps? Are you going? You doing more like direct type recording, like with like the 2-note stuff or anything like that?
I'm doing both. First, I do the amp recording and the amp mics in front of the amp, and then I do my own camper profiles, and then the recording I do with the camper and edited camper. But I have to say, all the sounds that I'm using, I did on my own. You know, I did all the setups, all the recordings, all the sound design for all the sounds that I'm using. So in this case, I think I can live pretty good with doing that digital stuff. I'm a big fan, to tell you this. I'm a big fan of guitar pedals. That's kind of my secret sauce, if you want. If something like that could exist, you know, I have like tons of different distortion overdrive pedals. And actually, I'm always using the same sound on the amplifier and just do the most adjustments with different pedals and different guitars because. Well, I figured out that every guitar sounds different on a different pedal. It's really interesting, and you can really create pretty cool sounding stuff. That's a thing I'm really, really into it, exploring those things and trying out every sorts of pedals. So that's kind of my world. But I'm just a fan of distortion, overdrive, boost pedals. So, you know, something that really can just push the sound in a way. I don't want to have too much chorus and octave or whatever. I don't like that too much on a basic rhythm guitar sound. I mean, that's cool if you do it as an effect, but it should stay an effect. But the thing I'm talking about is, you know, the basic sound, you know, and doing that with pedals gives you really a lot of opportunities to do little adjustments that can make a big difference.
Oh, for sure. You'd mentioned overdrive and distortion pedals. What are you using?
Well, one of my favorite brands is J Rocket pedals. I like the Lenny, and another brand that I really, really love is actually, again, somebody from our hometown, Rodenberg Amplification.
Oh, okay,
He's doing awesome pedals, really, and I really love his pedals, and I use them as much and wherever I can. He's just a great guy. Again, a guy from our hometown. We know him for over years now, over decades. So that's kind of, well, the good thing if you grow up and stay in the same region.
Yep, no, it's very true. The area where I'm in Canada is kind of the same thing. It's like you say, where everybody knows each other. You know the 4 or 5 recording studios in town, and if you're playing metal, okay, you're going to know the couple hundred people who are in that scene, right?
Yeah. Sometimes it's It's good. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes you want to have a new influence as well. You know, both things can work out.
Yeah, absolutely. So you'd mentioned Grandmaster possibly becoming a band and taking it on the road. Are there any dates or anything set in stone as far as you guys playing live, or not yet?
No, no, nothing I would know about. But actually, I know that we already had some offers to do some festivals. That's something I know for sure because people were asking me directly. So I think there could be a demand. So we have to talk about that and see if it happens. I would really love to bring it on stage if it would be possible. But of course, you know, all these kind of projects, it's kind of difficult because everybody's got his own schedules and his own duties somehow. And to bring that all together might be difficult, but it's not impossible.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure you've been asked this a million times, but as a huge Edguy fan, I need to ask, are there any plans for Edguy to do anything in the future, or does it seem like the band has been laid to rest at this point?
Yes, the second option. I don't anything about any plans. And as far as I have talked or written or contacted the other guys, I haven't heard anybody talking about having any plans with doing the band. And right now, yeah, it is everybody's got his own duties. So, well, that's the way it is for now. And I don't see anything in the nearer future that this might become any different.
Yeah. Fair enough. I know with Toby, with Edguy, you doing your studio and everything else, it seems like everybody's kind of moved on, and you know, there wasn't like a breakdown of the band, right? It was just kind of everyone just eventually sort of moved in different areas, right? Like that's sort of the impression I get, anyways.
Yeah, right. I mean, nowadays that's the way it is. I mean, from that point on, everybody had to move, you know, in different because the band was not there.
Yeah.
But that's the situation how it is nowadays, and yeah, we will see. As I said, I don't see anything that would change in the closer future, but you never know. You know, I would be the last one who wouldn't like to be surprised.
Excellent. Tell me this, really quick. I know you play in another band called Dorfrocker. Again, I don't know much about the band other than it's more of like a German folk band, I guess?
Yeah, some mixture of folk and, well, we have rocker in the name, so you can expect that during the live shows there's going to be some rock going on as well. But it's not traditional rock and roll. It's really German folk rock. And well, it's the band I'm touring with all over the year. We play like 100 shows maybe over the year.
Wow,
so,
that's incredible. Is it just Germany, or have you guys play? I'm guessing that's probably got to be popular for Oktoberfest.
Yeah, exactly. And Oktoberfests are all over the world. I mean, we just played. I just came back from South America where we played 3 shows in Brazil with this band. And last year we played Canada again, the Oktoberfest in Kitchener, Waterloo, close to Toronto.
Oh, that's incredible. That's about 2 hours up the road from me.
Oh, so
crazy.
See you this year. I think we're going to be there.
Really? Okay, I'm going to keep an eye out for that. That's so cool.
It might be possible. We've been there the last years, and could be, yeah, there's a good chance that we're going back there. We're playing Oktoberfest in the United States as well. But yeah, the biggest part is playing shows in Germany. We play every weekend. All over the place.
That's incredible. Wow. Okay, so there's the answer to largely what you've been up to musically is right there. Do you guys have any recordings or anything, or is it just mostly live stuff?
No, the guys. You know, it's I'm a musician in the band. It's not my band. I'm a hired musician in the band. So, but the guys, it's 3 brothers. That's the core of the band, and they're existing since about 15 years right now. Of course, they are doing records, they are playing in another German music scene as well. So they're doing both things. They're doing TV shows and all that stuff and with playback. But you know, on the weekend when we go out and play, it's got to be a live band, and that's where I'm a part of it. So it's just have to set this straight. I'm in this band, but it's just as a musician. So
yeah,
but that's a lot of fun. I mean, the chemistry is pretty good, and well, it's really a good way to make a living.
For sure. No, especially like I said, if you guys are playing every weekend and going and getting to tour and everything else, I mean, these guys have clearly done something right. So
exactly.
That's incredible. Especially being able to tour with German music, which I mean, really, you know, wouldn't have that wide of an audience unless you're Rammstein or something, I'm guessing. Yeah. So that's incredible.
But as you mentioned, the key is Oktoberfest. You know, the band is wearing lederhosen. and is from Bavaria, so we're a kind of Oktoberfest suitable band. And that's make it possible. Makes it possible to play all over the world.
So is there? I know you've talked about different things you're involved with. Is there anything else we can promote coming up from yourself, or anything you'd like to put out there, where people can check you out, that kind of thing?
Right now, I'm pretty happy with having just released the latest Grandmaster project, and I'm really enjoying the response that we get for the album so far. And honestly, there's nothing else I could put out right now, because there are no plans. I'm really the year just started. As I said, I just came back from a couple of days in Brazil, which was pretty nice, and we just started the new year. So things are just starting to, well, not starting slow if we just been to Brazil, but things are just have started in January, for January. So there's still a lot of time in 24 to get things done. So I don't have any plans right now.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's get through the winter and then plans start.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, Jens, I want to thank you so much for taking the time and going over. That was amazing. So thank you so much for taking the time out to do it. I've got to say, I've been really loving the new record. I've had it on repeat I listened to a couple singles back when they first announced it, and for the last week I've had the thing playing nonstop. Like, it's just one of those records that you listen to a few times, it starts to really, really get into your system, and I've been really enjoying it. So
Thank you very much
on the new record.
Thanks. I like it too. No, seriously, thank you very much.
It's a good feeling you can put on and go, wow, cool. I did that. Well, yeah, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you very much, and have a great day.
You too. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks. Bye.